Hi everyone, welcome to Tom's Man Shed and welcome to part 2 of a two-part video on the review of the air conditioning unit behind me. Now I bought that over 2 months ago, 30th of June, last day of June. It was the 30 days in June, yeah. Last day of June, and it's now the 6th of September. And I bought it after a spell of really hot weather, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to get it. I ummed and ahed wanted to get one, and I got it. And since that day, we haven't had an absolute scorcher of a day since. But this week, a full week into September, we're going through like an Indian summer here, and it's in the UK, and it's really hot. So they forecast this Wednesday, the hottest day, Wednesday or tomorrow. So I thought, yeah, I've got to do part 2 now. I'd got to the stage that I'd had a few comments saying, when's part 2 coming? I was going to heat the room up with my heater to do this test if need be, but no, it's going to be a hot day so I can show it in actual conditions. So part 1 was the unboxing and me installing it. As you can see behind me, a tube through the wall. Most people will probably use the window kit. Again, I showed that in part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, click this tab here, and that goes through what the window kit does. I don't show it in use, the window kit, but I link to another site that gives a good demonstration of how to fit it. I've mounted it permanently through the wall there. All that has gone into the unboxing and skimming over some of the controls. So in this video, what I'm going to do is go over the controls in more detail, and I'm going to measure the sound output from it compared to a normal desktop oscillating pedestal fan, and the wind force coming from it with my anemometer, comparing the two. But more importantly, I'm going to show you how much it drops the room in temperature over a certain period of time, and also what the power consumption is after, say, an hour's running. I've got my watt meter set up behind me, so when I do the test, I'll zero that and we'll time an hour and then another hour and maybe another hour and come out and see what it's dropped the room down to in them time periods. It's now 20 to 12 and I've repositioned. You can see me little weather station thing that is usually in front of me, out of shot of the camera, but I've positioned it there just to for easy filming, and the camera's there ready. At the moment the outside temperature is 21 and in here it's at 26, so I'm going to give it another sort of 2 or 3 hours for it to reach peak temperature, and hopefully it should be 30ish in here, or hopefully even a bit over, I don't know. And then I'm going to start it going, do them tests, and I'm going to measure the temperature as well, pumping out of the outlet and instant comparing it to the room temperature in here, and also testing the temperature of the air it's pumping out from the outlet outside. So all that is to come. Like I say, I'll wait till the day reaches its peak temperature before doing that. But meanwhile, let's go through the controls. So we'll start at the back, and I'll show you how to remove the filter and briefly say what the 2 little drain things are for. So just before we go through the controls, I'm just adding this bit in. I've finished most of the editing now and I've realised it's another long one, so I'm just adding this bit in to explain that yes, it is another long video. Part 1 of this was an hour and a half. This is just an hour, which is still pretty long. So if you do want to skip any bits, as usual, the red stripe below, if you skim along it, each one I will annotate and tell you exactly what each one's about. Now, there are loads and loads of bits. The reason it's an hour long is because of all the temperature tests I've just described, the sound, the airflow test, temperature tests in the thing outside, in the louvers behind, the little machine on top, room temperature, all of them lot. And I've done it not just over 1 hour, but over 1 hour, then the next hour, then the next hour, and finally after it's been on 4.5 hours. So yes, another very intensive thing. Loads and loads of waffling, few comments saying get on with it and speed things up, but so much to cram in. Like I say, anything boring you, just skip along to the bit below that you want. So, right, let's get back to them controls. Okay, so this is the only removable filter on the back here. It's dead easy, just take that top screw out. And that just pulls off like that. And that filter, I have run this for quite a few hours now, just various tests for little bits on each day, waiting for the really, really hot days. And I haven't cleaned that at all yet, and it's spotless. So it's pretty dust free, this this shed, but obviously that's where it sucks its air in. So make sure if it's a particularly dusty environment that you regularly clean that. And that's where it pumps it out through the wall, shown in part 1. And you can see here this rubber bung, and there is also at the bottom there, just about see it, I'll show it you later on in more detail, there is a bottom drain. So that's the back of the unit. Okay, so what do those two drain offs do? Well, I'll tell you that in a second, but I'll just tell you this first. Again, I mentioned it in part 1, but if you don't know, the way an air conditioning unit works is it basically sucks the hot air out of the room and puts it outside. Puts it through a system like your fridge or your freezer using a compressor, which actually extracts the heat out of the room and puts it outside. In your fridge or your freezer, they are a sealed compartment, so think of them as the room that it's in, and they put all the heat that they're extracting from that compartment out into your kitchen. So think of your kitchen as the outside of this shed. And that's the only way you can actually lower the temperature of a room. A lot of people think, oh, a fan on oscillator. I saw a post recently on Hot UK Deals extolling the virtues of this John Lewis oscillating fan for 80 quid. And somebody said, oh, because it's a circulating fan, it actually lowers the room temperature. No, it doesn't. Psychologically, you might feel that waft, and a waft blowing on you, even of room temperature, is nicer than just a still hot room. But it's only blowing room temperature air. You just sort of like feel it because of moving air, it feels cooler. But you measure that room temperature an hour later, and it's just the same. It hasn't. It's just moving the same air around. The only way you can get it actually cooler is by getting rid of the hot air in here and sticking it somewhere else outside. So that's how an air conditioning unit works. And during that mode, any dampness in the air, it will send outside, or most of it anyway. If it was a really, really damp room, you might see sort of steam coming out outside. This is a dead dry room, so you don't. But you can also use this as a pure dehumidifier, so put it in a really, really damp room that's had a flood, say, and it can act as a dehumidifier. So what them two drain holes are for, the top one, if you were using it as a dehumidifier, you could put a tube permanently there. When you undo that white plastic ring, there's a rubber bung inside there, a little sort of tapered rubber bung. You take that out and you could put the right diameter pipe, I'm not sure what that is, but you put the right diameter pipe in and an olive or something on and tighten it up, and you could lead that tube either outside to a drain or just outside over a path or whatever, or lead it to a bucket. And that would be, as all the time the thing is running, it's putting all its moisture that it's extracting out of the air into that receptacle. In normal use, when you use it as an AC unit, like I say, you don't need that, so that thing is on. You might get a tiny bit in there. I'll show you later how much you get in each one, and you'll see it's hardly any. I've run it for hours and hours, and there's been hardly any water in any of them. So that's what the top one is for. You can permanently connect it to a drain if you're running it particularly in dehumidifying mode. The bottom one, the bottom tank, holds 0.5 litre. So again, any moisture that isn't managing to get outside will condense inside and go into that collection container at the bottom. So again, you may have to find that there's more in there than the top one, as you'll see, but it's just sort of like a couple of spoonfuls come out. As soon as that tank is full, that half-litre tank, a little light, which I'll show you the position of in a minute, comes on the top and the machine shuts off. It'll have sort of like a float in it, which cuts the machine off if that tank is full. But it'll take a long time, many hours of running to get that tank full. Obviously, you would have to lift the unit up, so I'll show you doing that. I'll disconnect the outside hose, lift it up onto something, say this high, so I can get a tray or a dish underneath, and then we'll drain it into that and see how much it gets. But that's what them two holes are for. So the bottom one in general use is the one you'll be using, but again, only after many hours of use. So let's have a look at what the buttons on the top do now. Okay, so the buttons on the top are from left to right. Swing. What that does, there's a vertical vane in here that moves left and right, diverting the air, the outlet air, around the room, rather like your oscillating fan would do on a normal oscillating fan. You can turn the louvers up and down manually, but on swing, in fact I'll show it you now, this is filmed this earlier on, this is the swing function in action. This part here of the outlet, as I may have mentioned earlier, is blocked off. On the bigger output ones that will be open, but on this particular model that is blocked off, so your only outlet is here between these two. And I'm going to turn it on now, and you'll see the fan behind, which is like a sideways drum fan behind here. You'll see that start up, and that's like the outlet fan. And you will see a vane about here start moving left and right, directing air this way or that way and so on. You can't see it moving very clearly, but I hope the camera will pick it up now. So we'll turn that on. At the moment it's fixed, it's on its fixed position. I'll keep it on low speed. And I'm just about to press the swing button now, and you should see that vane moving around now. So you can just see it here, this here, to the left of my thumb. If you keep watching that bit, that is actually moving left and right. So there's still some of the waft coming out of it fixed, sort of like there and there, but it definitely does make a difference. I've sort of felt the difference as it moves around. So if you just want it blowing in one direction, leave it on, and now it's right over it, it's full left, and now it's powering back over right. So that's the swing function. And then moving along, the next button along is a timer. So again, once we've got it turned on, if you press the timer button and then the up down buttons here, you can set it up in 1 hour increments right up to 24 hours to turn off after 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, so on. Speed, it's just 2 speed, high and low. Up and down buttons, that's to select the temperature you want to get the room down to, or the timer if you've selected timer. Again, I'll show you that once we turn it on. Next one is mode, and that selects, there's a little light lights up here whether we're in fan mode, which is just the outlet fan running, distributing room temperature air around the room. You don't need the outlet out the window or out the wall for that. Dry, which is dehumidifier. Again, you don't need the outlet out the room for that. That's just to act as a dehumidifier to collect water from a damp room, the air of a damp room. and of course cool, which is the one you'll have it on most of the time, I would imagine, and that's its full air conditioning unit, chilling the room temperature down. This next one, sleep, is a mystery. There's nothing about it in the instruction book. I'll go into this shortly when I'm doing a head-to-head, and I've searched high and low and I can't find anything to do with sleep. So I don't know what that is, and we'll just imagine it's the same as a timer. You can set it to turn off after a preset time, but you know, there's nothing in the book about it. And then you got your power on switch there with the little white, and then next to that there's a full, which indicates, it emits a tone and indicates when it needs emptying. So we'll just turn it on now. So that's it. You can see there's a light on low there. If we set the speed there high, you can hear the difference in there's not a lot of difference in high and low, to tell you the truth. I prefer if low is a bit lower. Up and down, like I say, is your temperature. It goes as low as 16 and as high as 31. So again, pointless it being on 31 really, because if it was 31 in the room you'd want it cooler. So I have just leave that at 16, the lowest. Then like I say, your mode, so you can see it's on cool now. If we press it again, it skips over to just dry, and if we press it again it skips over to just fan, so that's just circulating air around the room. Sleep, like I say, don't know, and your power on switch, and that full, again I'll go into detail on that. So that's all your controls on the top. It says there FA when we're on fan, the temperature when we're on cool, and when we're on dehumidifier, which is dry on there, it's DH for dehumidify. On dehumidify you obviously can't select the temperature or the fan speed, that's fixed on low. On fan, again you can't select the temperature, but you can select the fan speed, high or low. And on cool, you can select the temperature and the fan speed. So that's all the controls on the top. And if I turn it off, so that's off now, you'll see the fan stopping. You'll see how long it takes to stop, so it's obviously quite a well bore-raced, balanced fan. Still hasn't stopped yet. Still going. There, it's just come to a halt now. So hopefully that explains all the controls on the top. The digital temperature reading, once you've selected it, whatever you want it to get the room down to, it stays at that. When the machine is off, it displays the actual temperature of the room at that time. So if you've got it set on 16, it just keeps at 16. It doesn't show you the room temperature while it is on. Now, as I mentioned then, that sleep function, in the book here, it shows the sleep function there just above my finger as number 18. But in the book, all these little references to, where are we? So we get into it. All your usual sort of like references here for 13, 14, 12. There isn't anything anywhere showing number 18, so it just does not mention what that sleep button does. I suspect it may be on another model, because they do a couple of models of these. This is the 7,000 BTU. They do a 9,000 BTU. I'm not sure whether they do a 12 or whatever. So they may have slightly more functions, but all it seems to do when I press it, it just turns the machine off, just like pressing the on-off button. And you can't select any time or any up and down with it. It just press sleep and it turns off. Press sleep again and it turns on. So that's just like pressing the on and off button, so goodness knows what that is for. Now also you got quite a nice remote control, so duplicates the buttons on the front of the heater with one additional one. As you can see here, you got your on off button. If I behind me, yeah, turn it on and off. Your plus and minus, so turn it on there. It didn't come on there because it's not pointing at it, but up and down with your temperature, your selected desired temperature. Again, the timer, and you can see it's showing 1 hour, and I can go up and down, so it will shut off in 1 hour or 2 hours. Press it again to cancel it. Sorry, press it just once to cancel it. Mode, dehumidify, fan, or the cool. Swing, you can control the swing on. You see the word swing appears at the bottom. Fan speed, high and low, high and low. And again, your sleep. The word sleep comes on, but again, nothing happens. If I go up and down, it's just the temperature. So again, I don't really know what sleep is. It just seems to be the same as turning it on and off. So turn that off. And the one additional button you've got is this one here, where you can select centigrade or Fahrenheit. So if you'd prefer it to be displayed in Fahrenheit, 61 and 16 there. And the thing, it's powered by 2 batteries. I think you get them batteries with it, I'm not too sure. So that's the remote control. So before I do the important temperature control, showing you how cool it can get in the room and how quick and the power consumption, I did these 2 tests a month or 2 ago when I got the heater ready for this part 2. So the first one we'll do is the airflow test. So I've just used my anemometer, wind speed indicator if you will, strapped to a tripod in front of this, and to compare it with the pedestal fan that I tested as well. Again, check the card above here for a test I did on that. So yeah, I've done quite a few fan tests on Lidl. Look back through me back catalogue for various fan tests. So let's see now that test, comparing it, how sort of powerful it is, if you will, compared to a normal pedestal fan. Okay, so you can see I've positioned the anemometer and it's about halfway up to, so it's measuring the middle of that. The middle of the blades of the anemometer coincide with the middle of that. If you remember, it's only this side of that full opening that is open to the fan. That is blanked off. It's fully open on the higher output heaters, but on this it's just that. And I've angled this to get the maximum. I've sort of moved this around left and right, the anemometer, till I got the highest reading, and it's sort of like an angle to it there, because the force seems to be sort of coming out this way, not directly out. I've got the swinging blade thing in the middle, but even so the main force of the fan seems to come out here. So this is the maximum we're going to get out of here. I'll just put it on fan, it's not on cool, because the fan speed out of here is just the same no matter what mode we've got it on. So we put it on low speed first. Let me have a look what that's reading. And that is 4.1 meters per second. From sort of like 4 going up to a maximum of, averaging round about 4.1, I would say, meters per second. And if we turn the speed up to high, it's not gone up much, there's not a lot of difference. 4.5, say 4.5 on high speed, 4.1 on low speed. Okay, so I'll now position this tripod in front of the pedestal fan, Okay, so I've got it now. It's the same distance from the fan, and again I've moved the tripod around trying to get the most sort of highest readings, and this is what it's on now. So with this fan on low speed, you can see we're at 2.8 meters. Of course this is a 3-speed fan, so on the middle one we're at 3.1, and on the highest one about 3.2. Again, not a lot of difference between the middle and high, but that's 3.3 meters per second on the highest speed. So as you saw there, about 0.8 of a difference in cubic feet per second. Doesn't sound much, but you can sort of feel it. It's amazing how much little difference there is between high and low on each of them. But yeah, you can feel this AC unit has got a more powerful fan than the other. But along with the increase in airflow coming out, of course, you've got an increase in noise. So let's have a measurement of the two noise outputs from them both now. So we're now going to test the noise. You can see it going up already with my voice here. And I've just got them both. I've got the pedestal fan sat on top of the heater there. Okay, it's a foot higher, but noise-wise it shouldn't be much difference really. So again, it will be picking up from here a lot of the wind noise. Even though it's quite a way off, it'll be picking up some wind buffeting noise. So it's not as accurate as your human ear would be, but let's see where it is now. So first of all, we'll just put the pedestal fan on. So that's the pedestal fan on, and I'll be quiet now and keep still as I can for a few seconds, and we'll take a reading. Okay, about 52 dB for that. That was on high, and we'll now put the AC unit on, and again position himself here and be quiet. So 58 dB for the AC unit, so definitely louder. So as you saw there, about 8 dB louder. And when you look at that 8 dB compared to its 58 dB that it's putting out, you think that's not much difference, but decibels work on a logarithmic scale, whatever that means. But basically it means that even 1, 2 or 3 decibels are definitely discernibly different when you hear it. It's not as small as they seem. A few decibels is a much greater increase in sound. 200 decibels isn't twice as loud as 100 decibels. It's a heck of a lot louder. So yeah, bigger flow, more noise. As I mentioned before, I can live with it right next to me, but it don't annoy me. But bear that in mind if you are getting any of these. But whether they make a super quiet one, I don't think so anyway. Okay, so the temperature is building nicely in here. It is now, I've been sort of filming them bits and editing them at the same time. It is now 20 past 1. I'm going to give it about another hour. I'm going to go out and mow the lawns in a minute. And lawns as in mine and next door's, I do his as well. Then it'll be probably about its peak temperature of the day then that it's going to get to in here. So we're already up to 30 degrees in here. Outside it's 26, but the outside temperature probe is in total shade, so in the sun it feels a lot hotter than that. and that's why this place is soaking it up as well as the heat from the PC. So I'm going to try and get this up, see where it is about another hour, maybe 31 or 32 hopefully, and then we'll do all the temperature tests. So I'll catch you when I start them. Okay, it is now 2:15. Mowing both front lawns, mine and my neighbours, and yeah, I'm pretty cream crackered now. It is absolutely scorching out there. I've just had a check at the temperature behind me. It is now 24 degrees outside in the shade, where it feels a heck of a lot hotter in the sun. And in here, as you'll see in a minute, it's reached 31 degrees. So I'm going to do the tests now. Obviously, I've had the heat from the PC. I've had the PC running all the time. So we've not got that, but it don't put that much heat out. But enough being a well insulated to get it to 30, 31. But I'm going to turn everything off now, so there's no heat source in here. So there will be some natural cooling, probably a bit anyway, but it'll take forever. So I'm going to start it now and go over there, set the camera up, and right, the rest will be self-evident. Like I say, I'll check on it about every hour. I'll pop in and take a picture or a bit of video of the readings and take note, and I'll sit out for the rest of the afternoon reading me Kindle or something and have a cold soft drink or even a beer. So right, I'll set the camera up now. Okay, as you can see, that is my little weather station. The white reading is showing 31.5. That's the temperature in here. If you look at the top of the AC unit, that's showing 30, so they're about a degree different. The green one is the outside temperature, and that is the sensor for that is in total shade. It's between two garages, behind everything out of the way, so it's in total shade, so it's a lot hotter in the sun. 28 degrees is my observatory, just this side. That white door leads into the observatory. That isn't insulated in any way, so that usually gets hotter, but this room's got hotter because I've been in it and the PC's been on and that. And 23 is my front bedroom, which is, it's got the curtains shut, and that's at the north end of the house, so not getting the sun at all. So we can see 31 in here. Now I've rigged up my watt meter, so I'm going to swing it round as soon as I start it, and then I'm going to take a reading of the room temperature in here with this and put the detector in the outlet. So let's turn it on. So we're going to turn on and select it as low as it can, 16 degrees. Swing it straight round to that, and it's drawing 600 watts at the moment, so the compressor must be running. When the compressor kicks off, it just drops a bit, but 580 watts means the compressor is running. That's not just the fans. Like I said, in a minute you might see it kick off. I'll keep this camera running, but if you remember what temperature we're at, 31.6, and it is 14:26. Just to confirm, see the time, 14:26, and the temperature is at 31.6. Again, this air temperature is showing 30 degrees in here. If I stick this probe, so I'm sticking that probe in the outlet now, it's blowing air out at, don't forget it's only just come on, so it's blowing air out at 26, 25, 24, 23, so it's already sort of chilling the air. 22. So we're going to leave that running now. Like I say, we're up to 750 watts it's burning at the moment, it's using at the moment, so not too expensive to run, less than a 1 kilowatt heater. Okay, so this is the day after I've done all the filming of the temperature drops and everything, so that's going to be coming. So again, this bit, once the tests start, it's going to be extremely long. No apologies for that, because I've crammed as much detail as possible in. So as you just saw there, it's already chilling the air and dropping the room temperature. But I was curious to see what sort of temperature air it was sucking out of the room. So let's go outside now and quickly measure the air temperature outside and the temperature coming out of the outlet. Okay, so this is about 5 minutes into the test now, and outside here got me temperature rigged up. Here's the probe, so you can see it's in fresh air. Hopefully we can see the meter. I've got it in a box to put it in the shade. So we're at 34, so I'm going to hold this in the hot air from it. You can see me now where I'm holding it, just there. And already it's up to 46. So you can see the air it's blowing out after it's passed through the compressor and the condenser and all the gubbins that are in there. Is hotter, much hotter than the outside air temperature. So 46 degrees C. So as you saw there, yeah, very, very hot temperature coming out there. It's once it's been through all the gubbins inside the machine and pumping outside. So we're going to go in the shed now, and I'm doing it live just to show you it's all true and not falsifying the figures or anything. After 1 hour, I'll mention this a couple of times though. Bear in mind the outside air temperature is in total shade. Now what I should have done is put it in the sunlight right outside the shed, because the shed is south facing and it's surrounded on all three of its sides, apart from where it joins the garage, by the bright sunlight. So outside it's, as the day goes on, around 2 o'clock, I reckon it probably got up to about 40 degrees in the absolute bright sunlight against the wood. So let's have a look at it now and see what the temperature has dropped to after 1 hour. Okay, so still a scorcher out here. We're going to go in now, live to the shed. It's now been 1 hour. I can feel it much cooler in here already. Oh, let's have a look. That's vibrated round a bit. Right, we're at 27 degrees in here, still 28 outside, so it's dropped it a good 4 degrees. So it's still consuming 765 watts as we go through the function. So it's used in this last hour, see at the top there, 0101, so 1 hour 1 minute it's used 0.79 of a kilowatt. That's the voltage, 248 volts to the shed. It's drawing 3 amps. That's the lowest it was when it was just plugged in, not turned on. And that's the highest. It got up to at one time 1 kilowatt. So it obviously varies. So yeah, before I turn off, you can see outside is 28. The observatory now is at 30, so that's been getting warmer, and this room is 3 degrees lower than that. Give it another hour and then we'll come back and see what it's got down to. So as you saw there, after 1 hour it's dropped the temperature by 4.6 degrees, which I think is quite good, and it's used just 0.8 of a kilowatt to do so. Now, from now on, you will notice it sort of like level out. The hotter it is to begin with, it gets it down to temperature reasonably quick. Then it's a bit slower getting them last few degrees. So from now on, I'm going to put a chart here and showing the continued temperature drop per hour and the total kilowatts used. So let's see what it is after 2 hours. Okay, so another hour later we're down to 25.3. So that's another 2. So it slows down. In its first hour it goes down by, it slows down a bit. Again, currently we're doing at 753 watts. And we go through. Function we used in 2 hours, 1.5 kilowatts so far. So you can see this time after the second hour the temperature drop is a lot less, just under 2 degrees. The outside temperature has also dropped 3 degrees, which is surprising because it actually felt hotter in the sun than it did the hour before. So that's after 2 hours. So let's see how it goes after 3 hours. Okay, another hour goes by, and here we are. So as you can see, it's only dropped to 24.8 in here, and the outside temperature is showing us 24. But remember, that outside temperature of 24 is in the shade, and all this time this room has been in the sun. I'm going to take the camera out now, and even at nearly 5:30 in the evening, I'll show you how hot it is outside in the sun. And the shed is situated at the south of the house, so it's been in the sun all day. The orange bit next door in the observatory, so that's crept up to 30 degrees, which would have been in the same in here without this AC unit. We're at, I'll turn this other light on, 700 watts at the moment. We burned all this time, this 3 hours, 2.2 kilowatts, so less than a kilowatt an hour. So again, just about a 1 degree temperature drop. It's at this stage I thought, I should have at the beginning of the test positioned the outside air temperature in the bright sunlight, because when you look at the outside air temperatures, like I said, they were a lot hotter in the sun. So I thought I'll remove it, so you'll see here where it is normally located all the time. Excuse the mess between the two garages, but it's attached to the side of the garage, which is the other side of this adjoining wall here. And I put it in some sunlight, but at this stage of the day you can see it's getting very late in the day, and it's very low, the sun, so it's not going to take much effect, but it does take some effect, you'll see. And if I'd have done it earlier, a much greater effect. But yeah, inside wise it's just about 1 degree cooler. So I'll just show you moving that temperature sensor now. It's in the total shade under there, so I'm going to take it off. So the sun is very low in the sky now, and I've placed it there. Okay, as you can see, we're about 20 minutes later now since I repositioned the outside air temperature, and you can see it's gone up. It's actually going back down again now. It got up to 28 at the time I'd realised it got up to film the camera. Oh, it just went up one then, 27.7. So as you saw there, even at the really late time of day, 5:30, when the sun was right down, moving it from the shade to the sun, after 20 minutes it showed 4 degrees hotter. So you can imagine what that would have been displaying at the peak when the sun was high above earlier in the day. So that sort of concludes the temperature tests over periods of time. But I thought it'd be interesting, right at the beginning I showed you putting the temperature probe from my multimeter in the efflux of the fan, just as the compressor had started and it was slowly dropping down. So once it's been going a bit, I wondered what sort of chill of air is coming out, and you can really feel it. It's icy cold sort of blast. It's really refreshing to walk in front of, even though the room temperature hasn't maybe not dropped too much. It's great, it's just stood in front of that. So I just thought it'd be interesting to see what temperature it's putting out. I've now put the sensor outside back in its shaded position, and that's at 23.5 outside now. Now, we'll do one final test on this. I'll show you the thing. I'm holding this in my hand now. You can see the probe. It just went in, the efflux sensor went down a bit, but it was at 23 degrees, showing it's about the same. The weather station shows 22.7. This time, when I put it in, whoops, right in the efflux, you can see, but as you can see now, the air it's churning out is at 12 degrees C. So eventually, yes, this room will get down to its lowest capability of 16. And we're at 22 now, and it's really cool in here. It feels great. So we'll do one final, that's the multimeter bleeping. We'll do one final show of that. So that's what it's used. You can see that. 3.34 kilowatts in 4.3 hours. So yeah, less than a kilowatt per hour, and it's brought it right down from that temperature. So like I say, I'm going to turn it off for tonight now. It's really comfortable in here. In fact, it's becoming cold. It's becoming a bit too cold sat in the efflux of this. It's distinctly chilly. So that's the final temperature reading, and as you can see from this final graph I've added, after 4.5 hours, so the temperature drop was down to 22.7. So yeah, in all that time it dropped it from the beginning of the test at 31 down to a low of 22.7. So yeah, not too bad result. And right, we'll carry on with the next bit. Just some extra info about the fan and the dehumidifier mode and stuff like that. So I just thought I'd demonstrate to you that just a fan, an oscillating fan, a fixed fan or whatever, does not drop the room temperature. As I mentioned earlier in the video, many people think that it actually cools the room. It doesn't. The way moving air sort of cools you is evaporation, really. It's sort of like the moving air absorbs the sweat more, and it's this sweat evaporating that gives you that cool feeling. And that waft, even of room temperature air, is slightly psychological cooling, but the air it's actually throwing out is no different in temperature than the air it's pulling in. So just to prove it, I'm showing now with the unit behind me on fan only. You've just seen it with the temperature probe in on cool, and it was throwing air out at 12 degrees in a room temperature of 22. So let's see, just on fan only, what temperature the air is coming out. We're now on, if you have a look at the top, we're now on FA, just fan. And just to prove to you, I just showed you it dropped down to like 12 degrees. If I put, again, here's the probe, it's showing 23 in this room. If I put it now in here, position it there, we're just on fan, and you can see there's no refrigeration being pumped out at all. It's just at 20 degrees. Tiny drop because we're in an airflow, but if we put it a bit ahead there, so we're still pretty near the front, and it's just about showing room temperature. So it just shows that is only circulating room temperature air around the room. It's up to 22 at the moment, so that's room temperature. 22 there, 22 there, and that's with the probe held right next to it. And if we look at the power consumption now on fan only, Alexa, set dimmer off. So yeah, you can see there 109 watts, so straight down to 109 watts. That's just operating the fan. If I turned it to cool now, oops, onto cool, I don't know whether you physically heard the compressor start up then, but as soon as you heard it start up, it shot up to 600 watts consumption. So okay, so like I said, I'll turn it off now, we'll get it up off the floor, and we'll see how much water it's collected. So if anybody tells you that a normal pedestal fan actually cools the room, direct them to this proof that it doesn't. So as you saw, on fan only, it's burning just over 100 watts of current, so not much money to run just on fan if you just wanted it blowing air around the room. So that concludes all the temperature tests. So as I mentioned earlier in the right at the very beginning, if you can remember that far back, I showed you the two water sort of receptacles, if you will, and explain what they did. Let's have a look now at how much water it has collected. Now remember, this is all this session, 4.5 hours of non-stop usage, and any sort of previous ones I've done on other warmish days. So probably double or treble that, and let's see how much water it actually has produced. So we'll just disconnect it from the ducting through the wall, which is dead easy. Oops. Sorry, I'll just unplug it so I don't catch the button. So that's how easy it is to disconnect it. And we'll raise it up now, and I'll go and get a bowl to put underneath. We've got a measuring jug here, and we're going to do the top first, which I'm hoping will be nothing, next to nothing in, and then we'll do the bottom. Now, this is off all this afternoon's, all today's session, 4 hours, and since I last tried it, so probably about 8 hours in total. So let's see how much is in the top one. Next to nothing, not even a teaspoonful, as you could see in there. It's just a rubber bung like that, goes in the hole, and then that screws it, holds it in tight. Right, we'll take this bottom one out. Exactly the same as the one above. Pull this out. And yeah, a bit more than the top. Well, that is it. Put the rubber bung back in. And like I said, this bottom tank holds half a litre. And that's how much water there is. Not even enough to register on any of the scales. I would say a tablespoonful, if that. That's the filter above I showed at the beginning of the video, removing. That's the one that the outside pipe goes on. And you can see through there all the fins. Very, very close together fins. Quite a big area from right there, right down to there. So a lot of area. And I presume there's no filter over them, but you could clean them out by blowing air through it. And back down on the floor now. It's just a matter of reconnecting that, which is dead easy. Just bend that round there, put it in there, slide it along till it clicks in, and that's the position I have it in, at an angle into the room, leaving plenty of room here for the air to get in, the minimum requirements mentioned in part 1. So as you saw there, the water was just negligible, a tablespoonful if that, after 8 to 12 hours running. So, like I said, the little tank at the bottom holds half a litre. So at that rate, you could run it all summer long and not even have to empty the thing out. But using it in its dehumidifier mode, in a really damp room. So say you'd got a damp house, or for some reason you'd had a water burst and all the carpets are soaked and you've done your best sucking them all out and everything, but you want to get rid of the extra moisture, this would be ideal for that. I've got a little dehumidifier, but it's pretty useless really. But this would be pretty good for that, having a proper compressor in it and everything. So I was curious. So then, yeah, you'd get loads and loads and loads more water, but you'd connect that top pipe, as I explained earlier on, to a bucket or something. But I was curious to what the power consumption was in dehumidifying mode. So I'll just show it here. And as you'll see, when you first turn it on, the fan starts up immediately and the compressor doesn't kick in for about 3 minutes. It's the same on cool if you haven't used it for a while. So when you first put it on, you think, oh, it's just normal air, because obviously you won't have your watt meter connected, so you don't know how much electricity it's using. But then after about 3 minutes, it comes on. Once it's in use, it's on pretty much all the time, the compressor. But as you'll see here, there's about a 3-minute delay, and then yes, the compressor is used in the dehumidification mode. Let's have a look at that now. As soon as I turn it on dehumidify, I'll start the stopwatch, and we'll see how long it is before it kicks in. If it's going to be a couple of minutes, I'll speed the video up. So put the stopwatch on now and turn it on. On dry. Now, as you can see, there is this delay now, so it starts up with just the fan. That's all it's using is the fan, 118 watts. So it still hasn't kicked in, the dehumidifier, the compressor. So we're coming up to 3 minutes now, so hopefully, maybe in the next few seconds, the compressor should kick in. We should see that power consumption shoot up. We're about 3 minutes now, and it still hasn't. There, I heard it. So I don't know whether you heard it then, but as soon as it clicked in, that's when it peaks at a kilowatt and then just goes down. So when it kicks in, it's like 1004 watts, and then it's down. But you can see that's gone up now to 583. So there's about a 3-minute delay before that compressor kicks in, and that's on dehumidify. Yeah. So as mentioned earlier, the fans. I'm wondering if there's just the one fan inside, because whether you've got it on cooling mode, dehumidifying mode, or just the fan circulating air around the room mode, it's blowing air out of the louvers, but it's also blowing air outside. Now, I'd have thought those were two separate fans, but I'm wondering if it was just on air circulation inside, why would it need to be blowing anything outside? So maybe it's just the one big fan that does all jobs. I don't know, but I can confirm that no matter what mode you have it on, it is blowing outside. You don't need that hose outside or through the window in dehumidification or fan mode, but you do in cooling mode. So that just clears that up. So yeah, finally that is it. Hopefully you've made it right through to the end. Yeah, about an hour long. So not the longest video I've made, but not the shortest. So in conclusion, would I buy one again? Yes, I would. It's ideal for this shed. You're never going to get something that brings the temperature down immediately, but for 5 degrees in 1 hour and then sort of like tailing off towards the end is fine for me. And all throughout that time, even as I mentioned before, even before the room has reached its lowest temperature, you've got that beautiful icy blast coming from it. It's like being in the supermarket or whatever, or any air conditioning building, and stood right in front of the aircon unit and having that cool blast come at you. The air around you might still be warm, but you feel great, much better than just a normal fan. So yeah, it's really, really great. Bad things about it, the noise, but they're all the same. Every one of these portable things I've ever come across are noisy. That's one of the main reasons they stick them outside, the big proper commercial ones. But yeah, if you can live with the noise, it's not too bad. One thing I would have liked to see was a slower fan speed. As you saw before, there's not much difference between high and low. And even on low, it's quite a firm blast. So if I've got it on, and particularly on this Herman Miller chair, which has got a mesh back, I can feel the cold air blowing on my back, which is quite good when the room is really, really hot. But as time goes on, it becomes quite cool blowing on you. So yeah, a gentler fan, a 3-speed fan with speed 1 being very, very low would be great, or even 2-speed with it, a bigger difference. But other than that, I can't really fault it. So yeah, make sure you're only going to use something this size, probably the smallest of the portable AC units around. I've not seen one smaller, in a very, very small room. The size requirements and the room it's capable of cooling are all listed in part 1. All the info from the book and on the box, and I give the dimensions of this shed and everything are on part 1, so check that out. But yeah, pretty good, and I am glad I bought it. Like I say, it's September now, so a bit of an Indian summer, 7th of September. I'm glad I did the filming yesterday, because today was supposed to be hotter, but it's not. It's actually cooler. So it's 27 in here now at 20 to 2. It's only 22 outside. So I think that's probably about it for the real hot weather for this year. So it won't be getting used much, but as soon as next year comes, it'll be on. So yeah, I would recommend one. So hopefully it has been of some use if you're contemplating buying one. If you have enjoyed it, or it has been of any use, please, please, please give me a thumbs up. It helps evidently in the YouTube algorithm, whatever that means. But please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please click the little picture of the shed here. Once you've done that, click the little bell icon below, and you'll be informed of any uploads as soon as I do them. At this stage, I don't know what the next one's going to be. Nothing in the pipeline. I'm going to Lidl soon. This is my Lidl shopping day, Thursday. I usually go in the morning, but I'm going after this. So who knows? I may see something in there. I don't know. But whatever it may be, it will be along whenever it comes along. So I hope to catch you for that one. Thanks for watching this one. Bye for now.